And welcome to another episode of the Please Do Tell podcast with your homegirl Ronnika, with this special series called What's Your Why? So this particular episode, we have two guests. Usually we have one, but we have two. And we have John Sams and we have James Gunter. And I'm going to throw it over to them for them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about them.
All right, great. So she said, I'm James Gunter. I am one half of the Present Pillars duo. I guess my why would be...
Not yet.
Not yet.
Tell us about yourself.
Tell us about me.
Yeah,
okay.
What you doing before?
So, before Present Pillars, I would say I worked a lot with youth, many years with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm really passionate about my community, helping people. I have one beautiful young daughter, my girlfriend, and LaQuinta, as she would want me to say.
No. I'm sorry.
That's me.
Sorry.
All right, John.
My name is John, JB and Devin's dad. That's our intro for our show.
Oh, nice.
I am 36, getting up there in age, community member forever. Also work for the Boys and Girls Club of Ben Harbor. Been around for a long time. I'll say community activist, engagement, all around good person, looking for, this is not a dating show. So
Where's he going with this?
Let's bring this back. Let's bring it back.
I was like,
let's bring it back.
When you gave your age, I said, oh.
Let's bring it back.
Okay.
Let's bring it back.
Swipe right.
Yeah.
Right. Denied.
Whoa.
All right. Let's bring it back.
Okay.
No, but I'm happy to be here.
Good.
Happy
So the funny part about all this is that I've known John for, I would say, most of my life. I think, James, did we meet because of the club? I feel like we knew each other before that. Oh, no.
DV.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, your mentor is one of my good friends. And so that's how we met. So we had a mutual friend there. But, okay, speaking of friendships and everything, we're going to go into the segment of At the Playground. So what they did tell you all is that James and John have this dynamic platform called Present Pillars that they're going to talk about a little bit later. But we do want to do this segment of At the Playground. You know? Remember the song At the Playground? Okay, just wanted to make sure. So the reason why I named this segment At the Playground is because between the grades of 4th and 6th grade, I didn't have recess. And the funny part about this is that John didn't have recess either. We were in the same class. So instead of having recess, we did mental math. So we can tell you any and everything about mental math. But my goodness, we can't. All these stories that we had bottled up, we are ready to tell them. Yeah. So when we think about At the Playground, we want to talk about a story from either your childhood, your adolescent, or just really if you could think about a story in your life, way before right now, but a story in your life that has shaped you into the person that you are today. And I can even use an example for myself is that I spent a lot of time at the knees of elders and listening to stories. Like, I love storytelling, and the reason why I'm so passionate about it, especially how archives are just put together and obituaries, is because there's so much of a person's life that's missing from that obituary, and that's why storytelling is so important to me. You get to know that person's story outside of just that. So I want to ask you all, what is a story that you can think of, like probably the first story that comes to your head, that, or to your mind, that you think about, man, that did shape the course of my life. So think about that for a second. Okay. I mean, I even gave you an example, so to buy you a little bit of time. For me, do you want me to provide a story for myself?
Yeah. I would love to hear yours first.
Let's do it.
Okay. So for myself, it's when we think about obituaries, so I can even remember the first funeral that I attended was actually Miss Clement. I don't know if, do you remember Miss Clement? She was a paraprofessional at Boyd Montessori, which is our elementary school. And I can remember going and seeing, or actually getting the newspaper and reading her obituary, but I kept thinking like there's so much more to her. So that turned into my job at my grandparents' house was to read the obituaries to my grandfather every night. And so, especially if they were Black, I was asking him, like, did you know them? Because we come from a small community. It's less than 10,000 people. So I would read this obituary, and then that's also reading comprehension. You're strengthening, you're learning new words and everything. And then you're also learning a lot about a person's family history. That's why when I see obituaries now and I see people leaving out names, I'm like, oh, so that ain't your auntie? Why she wasn't in this obituary? So my job was to, of course, read the obituary, talk to him about it. He was able to give me his interaction with that person. So that was a whole new story, a whole new outlook of who that person was. And then I started to think like, man, there's so many other people that have little obituaries, like it may be less than a paragraph, but they live this long life. So when I think about storytelling, I think about really that dash, because life is the dash. So that shaped the course of my life, and that's how I really got pushed into storytelling. So for you all, what is that story for you? Or for some people, it's a couple of moments that happen. But what would be some of those stories for you?
Well, I'll go first. It's about giving back, right? So, or kind of like giving back and my dad. So I played soccer when I was super young. I was killing them, right? But my dad was never there. I'm like, yo, I'm scoring 4 or 5 goals a game. Me and Terry Stokes on the same team. We killing Tony Davis' team. And then baseball we play, and my dad would coach somebody else's team. And I'm like, you're just not there. So I realized later in life that the reason my dad wasn't at my games is because he was helping other young kids. And then I had told him one day, I was like, Dad, why do you continue to coach baseball? I mean, you've been doing it for 20 years. My dad has a key to the city for volunteering for the city, for Union Park baseball. And he was like, well, Jay, the reason I do it is because I'm the only father figure that these kids have. And I said, I'll never do that shit, right? I forget my bad. And then I turned out being the exact same way, where I spend majority of my time giving back to the community, helping out other people's kids to the point where I gotta intentionally make sure I'm there for my kids, because I know how I felt that my dad wasn't around for me, but he was always around. He just made sure that he was there for other kids too, right? And then looking at my history, my granddad was the same way, because he got the field named after the baseball field because of his contributions to Union Park baseball and Little League. So full circle, I never really wanted to give back. I kind of fell in it, but then it just made sense, part of my life.
Yeah, it's part of that legacy. Yeah. James, what about you?
Man, so I guess mine would be kind of the way I grew up. It was always me and my siblings, right? So that kind of trend, like as I got older, of course, I can't spend all my time with my siblings, right? But the way I treat my friends is a lot like the way I grew up, right? I'm always around them.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people laugh because I spend a lot of time at the teen center and I don't work there no more. So they'll be like, what are you even doing here? I'm like, well, my friends are here. So.
No, my friends are here.
So what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
But I think mine isn't as long as you guys, but I think to me that is something that really shaped me, because to this day, me and my siblings are still that way. Like, I got to be connected in some way. So,
is that one of the reasons why you moved back too?
Family is a huge reason.
Yeah.
So my daughter was born in Florida. Actually, I was here. I found out my girlfriend was pregnant. So I went back to Florida to kind of make sure, everything was good there, being a present pillar. And come on, John.
Left shot again.
Okay.
And so I went back there, and then we were able to come back here. She was born in the pandemic, like the height of it in April. Yeah. So we, braved through that. And my parents only got to see her once, like when she was 3 months old. And then they didn't see her again until we moved here. And she got here in August of this year. So it was a long time. So, and my parents are, don't be mad at me, y'all, but they're getting up in age too. So, I just want to be around, want her to be around them, me or all her cousins, so. Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Family first.
So we're going to segue into why you're here.
Yes.
What's your why? So I want you all to tell me the story of the conception of Present Pillars, because just from the name, someone will be like, what is Present Pillars? So tell us how that even came about, please.
Well, we were at my house. We was kind of talking just like normal fathers do, and just talking about the nuances of fatherhood. And we were like, man, we got to do something about it. In this community, fatherhood is pushed to the back, right? And we noticed that there wasn't a lot of resources, visible resources for especially black fathers. So we would just talk and we said, we need to start recording our conversations. We'd be dropping gems. In this conversation that we recorded, said we need to do a podcast. And we was like, really? And let's do it.
Why not?
And then from that conversation, we realized that there was a lot of other black fathers that were dealing with some of the same things that we were dealing with.
Yeah.
Right. So we have this podcast that is set for black fathers to heal. And that podcast turned into a for-profit. And that for-profit turned into a nonprofit. And that nonprofit turned into reach programs such as free fatherhood programs. And it's taken on a mind of its own. And it all came from conversations about fatherhood in our living room. And we realized that too many fathers, you could be the answer to my prayers, but all we do is talk about sports and women, right? So we continue to talk about the surface level bull crap, and we never get to the real issues. I can call myself,
Yes.
I'm sorry. So, and in doing so, we've been able to, really dive into some real cool conversations and talk about therapy, black therapists, and talk about financial literacy, and talk about home ownership, and talk about just moving forward as a community, as a black man, right? Because like James said, we're society's issue. We're always society's problems. And that's not fair, because a quick CDC lookup, you see that we actually are the best, right? And I'm trying to hold my composure, because I'm very passionate about when I talk about black fatherhood. But it started off with just a conversation between two friends, and now we have a group of black fathers that want more, want better, and to be better fathers, better friends, better husbands, and better sons, right? And the only negative conversation we had is that it seemed like we're just doing too much for fathers. But it's goofy, because if we don't heal the black father, then we cannot heal the black family. That's when a mic drop shits. You know what I'm saying? You like that?
I did. I ain't had to do no work. I like
Okay.
this. But I think to add to that, to me, the biggest thing is health equity, right? So when we talk about the CDC, right, I was just perusing through the CDC website, and so many categories black men are the top of, right? Like lung cancer, I had no idea. Like naturally being black, we hear about the diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and all of those things, but even working in a building where public health happens, right? Because I don't feel like I'm actually in public health, but you don't really see messaging, right, towards black men, right? There are so many things out there that black men could take advantage of, but there's no messaging there. So that's kind of one of the things that I want to do with Present Pillars is improve messaging, right? When he talks about for-profit and nonprofit, like one of the things I'm most excited about is giving us more positive images of black fathers, black men. And I think that's really something we could tackle with Present Pillars as a media presence. And I'm really excited about that.
So I was able to be a part of one of the discussions, or it wasn't even, I don't know if it was.
Group.
Yeah, well, it was a support group, and whoa, like I was just really it was one of those situations where people asked to be a fly on the wall. I said, I was actually a fly on the wall to hear the stories of black men in this community, that work in this community, that live within this community, and talk about the challenges, the wins of being a father. And I know we've had conversations about even the impact that my father had on my life. So why do you all feel that there is such a disconnect with, I guess, or black men aren't really thriving as much as they should be?
I think it's the narrative, right? Because they are actually thriving. But if we don't own the media, then the only image you're going to see is BMF.
Oh,
or slavery,
Yeah.
or what's the other
Or
one?
drugs,
Power,
or-
right?
Yeah.
And to think like a show about successful black men is corny, right? But in reality, that's what we all are thriving to be. right? Not when we're 80, but when we're 25, we want to get the picket fence. We want to get the 4-bedroom home. But success is looked at different. So it's not that we're not thriving. It's the fact that it's not highlighted, right? There's some great men in this community. And then, like we always talk about, success is not, if you feel like you're successful, you're successful. If you feel like you're a great dad, you just continue to be better at yourself and become that big. It's like, I think that, therefore I am, right? You don't want to, because media would treat you like you're not really doing as much, right? And if I compare myself to James, and I look at like, man, I'm not doing it as well. I'm not doing it where I need to be. So you have to look at yourself and like really just block out Instagram, block out Facebook, because social media is who people want to be, not who they are, right? People don't put up that they're struggling to pay their bills on Instagram. They put up, they flash your money and Gucci belts and Louis Vuitton, everything, right?
They take it back to the store the next day.
Absolutely, right? And on social media, the dads that don't necessarily want to do better, but they're social media dads. And I say this all the time, that the reason why I love what I do is because if you ever notice a grandparent, how they're so good with their kids, right? Their grandkids, that's a do-over for them. We're doing this now so we can be good parents now, not say, man, when I'm a grandparent, I'm gonna do everything I wanted to do with that grandkid, right? We giving fathers the tools now, the resources now to go out and heal, because that's all it is from a health equity standpoint. Everything goes back to health: financial health, mental health, physical health. It's health. So if we're going to heal this community, we have to heal ourselves first, right? We have to be accountable for what we do and how we act and how we display ourselves on social media, right? I always tell a story about how my name used to be John J. Burt Sams on the internet, right? And I said, for me to get anywhere in life, I got to change my damn name, right? That's my mama. She named me that, and I'm always be J. Burt, but on the internet, I'm be John C. Sams IV, because that's my legacy. And if I'm going to get anywhere, I have to be the model that I say I need to be. Right, I got to model my behavior. I got to show my son positive images of me. I got to show my son that I can love on a woman. Right, I can't be kind to his mom. Right, we don't have to be a battle. We need to be understanding of each other. I need to show my daughter that her self-worth is not on how she looks. Right. So it's a lot of things. I kind of went around about answering the question, but that's just
what was the question?
I don't know.
Please do tell. So I do have a question for you, James, and then I'm gonna we'll see if John can answer this next question. But as we think about passing down even legacy, and my mom always says this, like, there's things about me that you may not agree with, and there's some things about me that you love and that you can improve upon. What are some things for you that you look at with your father, even your grandfather, or some men that were in your life or that have raised you or made you who you are? What are some things that you just like, he worked too much and I'm not going to do that, but he said, I love you every night, and I know that I'm going to make sure I say I love you in the morning and at night. So what were some things that you look at with them and it's like, okay, I know I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to improve upon this?
All right, so I'm going to start off by getting in trouble. Okay. My dad won't like that I said this, but I feel like in watching the way my dad raised me, okay. Yeah, I can feel it.
It's okay. It's all right. It's a safe space. Purging is good.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But I would say my dad was really stern. We were raised in church, and he was one of the strongest men I know in terms of convictions, right? What he said, he stood on, like at all times. So my dad was a hard worker, pastor. We were the traditional, you can't say shoot, you can't call grown people a liar, like all of these things, right? So as I got older, I started to learn a lot more about my dad, and I figured out that he didn't have his dad growing up, right? So, and my dad's an immigrant too, so a lot of the crossover from being Jamaican, right, he brought to us.
Okay.
So in all of that, I learned that a lot of the things he did for us was because he was trying to feel something that he didn't have for himself. So now, I spent a lot of my time being angry with him because, like, man, why didn't you come to my games? Or why are you always at work? Or all of these things. But he was doing what he thought a man was, right? And I have to say too, he is the greatest man I know, right? I love saying I've never known a moment of life without my dad. Life without my dad, right? It's my favorite thing to brag on, because now I get to do the same thing, right? But I do notice sometimes now that I repeat some of the same things, right? I work too much. I'll leave the house at 8 in the morning and I won't come back till 9:30, 10 o'clock sometimes, right? So John is actually really good at reminding me, hey man, go home. Like you got people at home waiting for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's hard for me to stop because hard work is addictive. It's something I was taught. So
That's culture too, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
it
you
is.
would say that's
yeah.
culture.
That is
Yeah,
very
that's
Jamaican.
definitely
It's very
culture.
Jamaican.
Yeah.
But I would say that, but also learning to give grace to our parents, I think is a really important thing because they're human. And a lot of times when you grow up, like I always view my dad as perfect. Like I chose not to look at his flaws, and I always like just held him in such high esteem. But that's a hard thing to live up to. And now that my dad is, just slowing down, let's be honest, right? He's starting to feel like some type of way about a lot of the things that, a lot of the opinions that we may have of him and stuff like that. But I try to remind my siblings and just anyone dealing with these situations, like, give them grace. They're human. Like, they never had to live up to these crazy notions we had about them and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I love the human. Like, I like talking to him about, like, him just being imperfect, right? Ricky Hill said something yesterday. He was like, we are perfect because we're behaving the way we were made to be, right? Which is imperfect. We're perfectly imperfect. And I thought that was a great way to put it. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. All right.
Oh, my turn.
Totally.
I'm gonna do the sandwich approach, right?
The who?
The sandwich approach. You get
Okay.
good, you get bad, and you coming back with some
All
good, right?
right. Okay.
My dad is a great dad. Raised 2 kids, my brother and I. Coached his whole life, My dad and my mom, I say they divorced when I was like in the 7th grade. But before that, let's go back to his childhood, what I'm learning. So my dad's dad passed away when he was early 20s. So essentially, he was the man of the house early. He was raising his other siblings, him and my grandma. So he didn't understand what a father was, because as a grown man, when you needed advice, he didn't have it. So my dad, like most dads, is very disciplined, was number one, right? You're going to beat the slugs out you if you do something wrong. And then my dad was a coach, so when you got in trouble, he'd say, take off. He'd say, where the fuck am I running to?
Yeah.
It's 20 degrees outside. I'm taking off.
I was like, please expound.
Where am I going?
Yeah.
Right? Just get out and go. That's my dad. So
I would have went out and ran in the backyard.
Coach Sam, she was like, all right, I guess we got to run in the snow. Let's figure this out.
I've never heard that.
But so I had a different view of my dad. I never thought he was perfect, right? Me and my dad, we always bumped heads since I was in like the 6th grade. I always say that I lived a grown man life a long time. Seen things I shouldn't have saw, like most people around Benton Harbor, and it kind of shaped who I am today, right? My friends always say I'm a grandpa, the way I carry myself. I'm an old man. It's because I have always been a little man. You know what I mean? Even going back and forth with my elementary teachers, I'm not doing that. No, I guess I won't go outside. I guess I won't have recess today.
That is true.
Right?
That is true.
But my dad, man, he's just a good dude. He's just a good dude that was very stern. He talked. My dad always say that, don't trust people who talk fast. And he was talking about me, right? But he talks faster than I do.
Okay.
So it was just
a
lot of shit.
That's how it is. We
think
think about this. That's in the 8th grade. We going back and forth. Community member, right? Coaches baseball for 30 years, coached football for 15, raised 2 dynamic individual sons. My brother will be a lawyer, I believe, next year. I'm director of the Boys and Girls Club, and we have our own organization with Present Pillars. So he did real. He raised men, and I'm proud to say my dad raised really independent, strong men. From where he came from to what he had to deal with, to from politics to working at the city hall for 30 years in the water department, all the connections that he made, he did that on his own, right? He didn't. Even though my granddad was a great man, my dad built his life for himself, right? And I take that sometimes I'm so independent too. I don't ask for help. I'm just learning how to ask for help because I would watch my dad say, "No, I'll do it myself." Right? He'll go fuck up a gate instead of asking for help. You know what I mean? And that's just how I am. So I'm just learning how to like James said, give myself grace, ask for help, understand that I can't do everything, not beat someone down for them not understanding what's going on. And it just continue to move. Like my dad, man, he's a fantastic, and we're just starting to communicate better. I always say that if I hadn't gotten to this work, then I wouldn't have the thought process to even like, man, let me go ask what he's going through.
Yeah.
And when those communication channels open up, you're like, whoa, you went through a lot, man. That happened when you was in 8th grade. I wouldn't have got through that.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. You know, because you always look at it from one side. Like, we're men, so we know mommy knows best, right? Don't you talk about mommy, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I've had that conversation with him. Hey, who you talking to? Don't talk about mama, right? But now you're like, well, now that I'm a father, mama, you go up, right? So, but it's things like that where you don't realize how great your dad is until either they're gone, or that you sit back and become a father yourself and be like, man, my dad, he did do it. He did build his home by himself. He did, continue to help me out, right? The other day, my dad said, hey, I got some groceries for you. I don't need no groceries, even though it was like no name brand food. You know what I mean? But I was like,
give us the list. Give us the list.
It was like,
I don't even want that
I put
list.
like this, man.
Because you would do it though. That's why I think
I
it's so funny.
That's what's so crazy. That's where I get it from. Man, he brought some cereal called Cheery something. I was like, where did you get this from? This ain't at Walmart.
Save-A-Lot.
I don't even think it was at Save-A-Lot. This was, you bought this up the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's why I'm very frugal, because my dad is very frugal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I talk fast, because my dad talks fast. That's why I care deeply, because my dad cares deeply.
Yeah.
And you never understand until you become a man and understand what they go through.
Yeah. Man, you make me want to brag on my dad a little bit.
I'm going to do it because I'm a sandwich. I don't want to stay in that bad part.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Can't get nowhere like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Say word.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can learn from it, but
yeah,
you don't want to just stay in that space.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's one thing that my dad told me so my mom, I only met my mom's dad maybe twice, 2 or 3 times. So the last time I seen him, he was on his deathbed. He was able to talk and all that, give a lot of the stuff that he did back in the day, which I was like, this is a bit much. But I never understood why my mom was just kind of like, that's Milton, that's Whistle. For me, I was like, but that's my granddad. Like, who is he? But my dad had to tell me, you respect the person that provides for you. You learn so much, and you want to be so much like that person. So what are some things I would say, or I want to ask you, that it's like, ooh, how do I want to put this?
Just spit it out. Let's do it.
Because I'm just thinking about, when we think about men in our community, what are some conversations that you've had with young men that are thriving or wanting that relationship with, just even if it's not a biological father? Because that was where my dad was going. Like, I don't care if he's biologically or not. You are gravitating. You need to be listening to the person that is providing for you. How many young men in this community are looking for that type of guidance? But how do they get it? Because I know with Present Pillars, you're actually working with fathers like, hey, be a better father. These are some of the tips. These are some of the things that you can do. But how do you help these young men and young girls? Because I was a young girl, once upon a time too. How do you help these young people to say, like, they're hurting because they don't have a father in their life? So what do you say to them?
I would say, so in the Boys and Girls Club, we did, in Passport to Manhood, it was an exercise called Dear Dad.
Oof,
and
letters.
Dear Dad messed me up every time.
Yeah.
I kept all those letters. I kept all the letters, because in that session, right, Passport is one of those things where you have to get them to get down there and then be quiet, and then during the lesson, somebody's going to tell a joke or be disruptive. And all that, right?
Somebody mooned me.
That was my last
before,
day.
yeah.
Too.
Somebody mooned me.
That wasn't funny. You were pretty upset.
Yeah.
That wasn't cool.
Okay.
But when we did that session, I saw a side of these guys that I never saw before, because they finally had a chance to like take the coat off, right?
Yeah.
And be vulnerable for a second. Sorry, I apologize. And I think the best part about that was they all got to do it together, right? So John always says, either you're raised by your parents or you're raised by your friends, right? A lot of times these kids raise themselves, right? And people are quick to say, I'm sorry if this is a tangent, but people are quick to say these kids have no respect, or these kids have this, or they don't do that, right? But where were they supposed to learn it from? Right? Because they got parents on the internet twerking and being disrespectful. And I saw a video on Facebook the other day when people were saying the girl was being disrespectful, and she was, right? But respect is something that's taught and reciprocated, right? It's not a one-way street. Honor is. So the girl jumped on her mom because her mom, I don't know why, right? But she jumped on her mom, but in the video, everyone was saying in the comments like, oh, the girl's so disrespectful, but they're glossing over the fact that her mom was just calling out her name, like demeaning her, degrading her. And where is she supposed to learn this respect from, right? You have to give to get, right? Now, honor, I do agree. She should show her mom way more honor than she did. But respect is a two-way street. And if we don't get it, we won't learn it. So I'd say all that. What was the question?
Please do tell.
I don't like you.
No,
But
I was saying, how do you help these young people that don't have
I would
that
say
father figure?
just by doing what we're doing now, modeling good behavior, modeling respect, modeling community, being people that they can call on and ask for guidance and stuff like that. Because even in my job at the health department and working with these young fathers, a lot of them, they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know what a good dad is. A lot of them didn't have their dad, right? A lot of them went through the system, right? I know a guy right now that spent, 7 years from 11 to 19 in juvenile, right? Away from his family. That's all he knows. Now he has a hard time trusting anyone. He wants to, right? He loves the thought of being a dad. His son will be born soon. But the financial part of that, the providing part of that, the being there, the being vulnerable, the emotional part of that, he just lost on it, right?
Yeah.
Because he never had that. People abandon people, and then they expect them to have this full range of emotion that doesn't come with it's not osmosis, right? It's experience.
And the reason why we have our jobs in the first place, going back to was because the fathers are absent. They're just not there, right? And we have a generation of kids being raised by, I say the streets, by their peers. And what they think is right is wrong. And what they think is wrong is actually right. Because so it's hard to tell a kid, and I'm very open. Kids smoke. They do.
Yeah.
Please don't smoke on Facebook Live. Because I can't tell you to stop smoking, because you're going to do what you want to do. Kids have sex. Hey, I know you're having sex. Can you please wear condoms? Right? So it's meeting the kids where they are instead of talking at the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to talk to these kids, right? Because we once were kids, right? So we talking about these young fathers, and James does a really good job. Like that's his thing, talking to young fathers, right? And he gets them to believe in themselves because he believes in them, but he gets them to believe in themselves. So they can believe that they're a better father. They can believe that they can be something to be better for their kid. And it's scary because they're going in life having a kid, being a kid, not having any role models. And they got James saying, no, you can do this. So they going back and forth with James, and only because he believes in them, right? So and that's just one of his jobs, dealing with fathers. So our whole life work is dealing with fathers. Our whole 12-hour, 13-hour days is dealing with grown fathers, young fathers, just fathers, grandfathers, baby fathers, right? We just around there. But
What's wrong with this dude?
I'm sorry.
It's true.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, we believe in them. We believe in the fathers. We know that, because as our lives work, and we only needed a push. We only needed someone to lead and guide us to get to where, and we're still accepting help, right? And we telling our fathers, you're not that far off. Looking at a father's credit. And I preface father because that's what we work with. But I looked at one of my guys' credit, and I'm like, he was like, oh man, I got this. I said, man, your credit is clean. You actually don't have credit. Go to the bank and get you a secured card, and let's work from there. He's like, I can do that? I mean, it's just the counsel that we need.
Yeah.
But because us black fathers, we don't always ask for help. We are drowning when James has a life vest and a lifeboat, right? And I'm sitting right next to him talking about LeBron James. Lakers losing every day, right? And it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating that we're not that far away, but you have to, and that's why that support group is so important. And shout out to Pig for doing that, because Miss Latoya Turner, and we like we said, we have at this point about 6 different support groups, and then we bring it back to the club in this massive support group, because we know that all fathers are not going to come to that space.
Yeah,
you see what
true.
I'm saying? So
Very
we partner with McAfee to get a support group there. We partner with Pilgrim Rest to get a support group there. We partnering with this guy named John Woodley to have support groups there, and then we bring it all back. So we're trying to touch more fathers, right? Because the more fathers we can touch, the truly we can build this community. And as we build our dad community and dad database, we can do more, right? So it's a continuous cycle. The work's never going to be ending, but if I can empower 10 fathers to empower 10 fathers, then we're going to make a huge impact, and we're going to move a lot forward. But just going back to the original conversation about helping out the youth and these black fathers, James is the best in town.
So my question for you, James, is, I know you guys are just really bigging up each other. I'm here for it.
No, seriously.
That's what you need.
Seriously.
Hello. Since you are a newer father, what would you say is some of the best advice that you got from John about becoming a father?
No cuss words.
Well, that's you.
Yeah,
that's
I can't quote you for sure.
Okay.
So I would say the best advice John ever gave me was, slot. I gotta pick one. Man, RJ, you always do this to me. It wasn't things he said, it was stuff he did.
Okay.
Every summer, if you know John,
tell it.
John don't care about nothing during the summertime. If he got a job, so, right? If you got friends, so. John is all about his kids in the summer. Like, he gets both of them, and everything is about them all summer long. Like, BJ, you do it. You can handle it. He empowers people because he knows what's important. And to me, that reinforces to me that my number one job, my dream job, is being a dad, right? It's because that's, well, the advice he gave me, right? Or the advice I saw, the way he lived his life. If you know John intimately, and I'm sorry if this is too much,
I ain't tripping.
but that's one of the struggles, right? Because he has 2 kids in different states, right? Indiana, South Carolina, right? And every day I'm with him, I try to be conscious of the burden that must, like, how heavy that must be on him, right? So just watching how he braves through everything for everyone else, right? I can call John and ask him for advice on anything at any time of the day, right? He might not answer most of the time, but
I call back.
Yeah.
He'll call back, he'll text back. But watching strong people be strong for everybody, and then the times I'm able to be strong for them, like, to me, that's the most rewarding thing. Actually, it's the favorite thing about John and my dad. I love when my dad asks me for help. That is my favorite thing about being his son, when he can ask me for help, or when I actually have the capacity to help. It won't be financial because he doesn't need me there, but but the other day he had a deer and he needed help hanging it up, right? I was late for our shoot because, hey, I'm about to go help my dad hang this deer. Like, he was so excited to be. Like, he needs me, like, yes. Yeah. But I would say that's it for me. Watching the way he is with his kids and that summertime thing, like how nothing else matters. And he built it all year long so that when the summer comes, like, he's ready for them. That's dope to me.
Yeah.
Almost cried, man.
Yeah.
I'm almost cried.
It's real. It's real. It's real.
Bleeding myself out.
Yeah. Right. I just noticed that. I was like, okay. I think one of the stories that I even tell John a lot, or I don't even know if I tell you a lot, but it comes up in my memory a lot, is when you were at work and your dad had your kids and they were sledding down the hill. Right across, I think, where you guys record. Yeah.
Oh, that hill.
Yeah,
Oh,
that hill. And I think I noticed them first because I didn't know who you were. So
Did he block the
that's why I
street?
stopped. No, I stopped because I was like, who are these kids swimming with? Then I noticed it was your dad. And then I was like, well, let me get some video or something of them, right? But I was just like, wow, it's those moments, it's those memories that they will never forget. And I know that you're big on that. So how important is it for you or for you to express to other people to make more memories? Like, that was a free activity. All we need is snow, and God gave us that snow and that hill. And your dad was like, hey, this is free, this is fun, this is probably some things that he did with you all. But how can you express to other people that you don't always have to have money to create memories
Can I help you
with
with this
your
one?
children?
Free fatherhood events. They happen once a month. That's why we do it.
Okay.
Because people need the space and just the opportunity. Just say, hey, man, they're doing this. Let's go do it.
The cookies and canvas.
It's easy. Let's go
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Right? Next
Yeah.
month, we got a dinner where we're giving away toys. Come.
Yeah.
Free food, free gifts,
Yeah.
free fellowship.
And I actually learned that from him. And then on top of that, I started taking pictures because of you. I had came back to Ben Harbor. Now think about this. I'm gonna tell you, it was something you were doing, and you and at the time, my old director Jeffrey, he was like, yeah, RJ does kaleidoscope. Is it called kaleidoscope?
Periscope.
Periscope.
Yeah.
That's like
Kaleidoscope.
kaleidoscope.
Oh, bad. It was Periscope. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is a whole bunch of pictures. She was really killing it. I was like, let me start documenting my kid's journey. And here, check this out. Our first ever event, and we noticed that black fathers did not have professional pictures with their kids. We was like, no, we need to change that. So I was like, I learned this from my dad to always, because they didn't always come from money, right? So they made sure that we were going to the matinee movies or going to play basketball in the backyard on a cart, right? Those precious memories, and I always tell James that embrace it now. Like, even though, now he knows this, the kid with the age that they're crying and can't talk, I don't like it. That's not my friend. I love communicating with my son and daughter, and I'm just giving it to me like, Daddy, you stink.
Yeah.
Your poots smell bad.
Yeah. This
Right.
this is not real spaghetti.
Dad, I don't like your earrings.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know about the
Yeah,
spaghetti?
Yes.
it's nasty.
He's like,
Daddy,
this
your
is
food is nasty.
disgusting.
I love this age because they can communicate back. But embrace it, because I go back and look at my son and daughter. I was like, oh, they were so cute. And now they sitting here talking back to me. It's wild.
They correcting you
They-
when we
oh,
say
man.
words wrong.
Dad,
I
that's
was
not a
like,
real word,
yikes.
right?
Okay.
Dad, it's not green, it's brown. You
Yeah.
know, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just embrace the journey. Embrace the journey, because when they grow up, it's going to be different. So what James said is, some of my guilt is that because I'm not there 24/7, I do feel it all the time, right? So even going back to that support group, it was a guy named Freddie Robinson. He spoke, right? And I was like, oh man. He says, because his story is, and not to get too personal on his story, but
No, it was really good.
yeah, him and his wife struggled to have a kid for 12 years. And he said, man, I got people in the community calling me Uncle Freddie and Mr. Freddie and Daddy Freddie. And I was like, that's what they call me, Uncle John and Mr. John. I got a teenager just sent me a long poem yesterday about how I impacted her life while she in college. And I'm like, God, I'm doing all this for these kids in Ben Harbor. Going back to my story, right? My dad was doing these kids in Ben Harbor, and I wasn't there. My granddad was doing it for kids in Ben Harbor.
Yeah.
And our own kids are essentially suffering because we're not there. But if our life, it's like, do you choose your passion? And I'm trying to do both. But God wants me to do what he wants me to do. So my hardest part is when it hits me, and that's why I started seeing a black therapist. When it hits me, I have to understand that because I push people away. I've broken up with girlfriends and I cussed friends out, and my boss don't talk to me today because I couldn't handle what was going on internally. So for me to understand what my body is telling me, and I broke down. Freddie had said his story, and I was like, I can feel it. I won't be coming to work for another couple of days. So I end up breaking down crying, just talking to him. I ran upstairs. I was like, let me clean myself up, right? Because I'm actually hosting this event. So I came the next day. I came and talked to my staff because I told them I wasn't coming in. And I said, this is what I'm going through. And if I say this, if you don't reveal it, you can't heal it, right? So I'm learning more to talk about what I'm going through, because what I do is I'm helping somebody else. It ain't even about me all the time, right? It makes me feel better, and it makes me be able to say, let me call actually have these conversations with my kids, because I'm telling these people, these random people, that what's going on with me, and they're like, oh man, I'm going through the same thing. Our first ever interviewee, Danny Jennings, His story was so powerful. Now it went both ways because we got the negative and we got a lot of the positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I had multiple men in my inbox saying, I'm going through that same thing.
I feel like that's when you started to see even the support group grow from the first to the second. Yeah.
And the thing is, there is no perfect way to do this father thing. There's no way. There's no manual. There's no actual guidebook. There's nothing that says you need to do this here. You have to go through. You'll get through. And when you do that, you come out better on the other side. Every time you get over an obstacle, guess what? There's going to be another obstacle, but you just have to keep pushing, right? So with me, when I go through my spouse of depression, that's what it is, right? When I go through my spouse depression, I need to be alone. I need to do my praying. I need to read me some books. I need to go see a stupid movie by myself so I can come back better. But before that, I didn't understand what I was going through. And if going back to the young fathers, how are they supposed to know how to even understand what their body is telling them? Because that's why they drink. That's why they smoke.
Hello.
That's why they fight. Yeah. And then they got nobody to say, hey, you probably need to take some time for yourself. My therapist told me that, John, you doing all this stuff, you're going to break down. He said, a car with low gasoline still runs, but look how better a car runs when it's full tank. Right? And I'm like, yo, you preaching to me. Don't do that. I ain't paying. This is free. I can't afford you. Don't do that to me. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that to me because I can't.
I wasn't expecting this.
I can't tip you, and I'm not going to tip you because I'm frugal. You know what I mean? Cheap. But
thank God for free mental health services.
Thank you. It's amazing. But we just have to understand what we're going through to help somebody else. We have to embrace, regardless of where you at in this fatherhood journey, because if not, you're going to spend your whole life in guilt. And you ever see people that are always talking about in high school, it's because they never grew up. They never got past that moment.
Yeah.
This was the best time in their life because they never embraced the next part of life. It's the reason why kids in high school are doing extravagant things for the prom because they don't believe in weddings. It's why they are. I can go. I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna go.
No, don't stop.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the nature of this culture that we're living in, and fathers have to be in the forefront of what we're doing. They have to keep our kids in the forefront of our decision, and it will be okay. But you cannot think that you're the only person that's going through this, because you're not. There's someone right across the street. There's someone right across the hallway. There's someone that you can talk to help you in your journey, become a father.
And that's why presence is greater than presence with a T.
We'll have this for sale soon.
Wow, Johnny.
It'll be in the show notes.
Anywho,
no, okay. So as we wrap up this conversation, I want to hear your final thoughts. Not like Jerry Springer. Not like Jerry. I feel, and you got. I feel like you got excited, but no, not like that. So when someone is watching the end of this episode, and what do you want to be the biggest takeaway from the both of you?
I would say we need to pay more attention to history.
Don't be speaking my language.
I apologize, but I gotta say.
All right.
But we have to pay attention to history. Like if you go as far back as the Willie Lynch letters, right? That was about destroying the black family, right? You go to the way welfare is built, it's about destroying the black family, right? A lot of these things, if we don't learn how we were broken, we can never repair ourselves, right? A lot of times we spend so much time saying, well, black women this or black men that, right? And we're warring at each other when we didn't create this battle. This was by design. So we have to learn how they designed it, or anybody designed it, in order to reverse the design, right? We have to reverse engineer our way of thinking so that we can thrive again, because it's very possible, and it's right there. The math is there. So that's what I would encourage people to start paying attention to, how we got here, so that we can move forward in a healthy way.
That's good.
It was good.
Yeah,
that's gonna be hard to.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can. Put your back into it.
If you do what you best.
Jerry.
We can't even be serious. My goodness, that's terrible.
She told us not to do it.
I'll try to keep it very, very simple, right? To be a pillar in your community, you have to first be a pillar in your household. You have to understand your power. You have to give yourself grace. You have to lead by example. You have to role model the things that you want to see, right? If you want to see a positive family, then you have to be that first, right? You cannot live in regret. You cannot live in guilt. You have to continue to push forward, because if you do, you will not move. You will be stuck and stand still. I want to see everybody successful. I want to see everybody happy and healthy. And to be a present pillar is not always present physically. It's present mentally. It's present spiritually. It's present financially. But you have to be present first.
Okay, then.
You did great.
Okay. So can you tell everyone how to connect with you online? And is there a website, or is a website coming? Or
so there is a website.
Okay.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, at the Teen Center. I was just playing. You can even call us. 269-369-8666 is our phone number. You can email us at presentpillarsllc@gmail.com. Find us. We're here.
And that's present, PRESENTPILLARS.
Yep.
Present Pillars.
Yep.
Yes.
Please check out our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's where the magic happens.
Some amazing conversations. One more time. Conversations. That's why we don't do do-overs. We just rock with it.
It's okay.
Some amazing conversations with some amazing black men, because you really don't know their stories until they sit down with you and they tell you about their highs and their lows, and you can learn a lot from them. So that wraps up this episode of the Please Do Tell podcast, with this special series of What's Your Why with Brother James and Brother John of the Present Pillars platform. And I am your homegirl, Ronnika.
Jizzle.
That is also my nickname. That's one of the multiple nicknames that they gave me at the Teen Center. It just stuck. So we'll see you next time, goofballs.